Good evening. Good evening, scholars of wheel. Intern here. Right? And tonight, I want to talk about MotoGP. Not Formula 1. Not Jeddah. If we're being real, as far as I'm concerned, nothing crazy happened in Jeddah. I was gonna make an unscripted about it, but I just don't feel like it anymore. I might still do it though, who knows. But after watching Portimao, I want to talk about MotoGP. Because as a fan, I am slightly worried. Well, actually, not slightly. I'm very worried about how the rest of this season is gonna go. And why am I worried? Well, look at who's left on the grid. This one weekend, first weekend of the season, we have seen 5 riders get hurt. And that's just in GP. Yeah, that's just in the top flight. 5 riders are hurt this weekend. 5. Marc Marquez, Miguel Oliveira, Jorge Martin, Enea Bastianini, Pol Espargaro. That's 5. Right? And they're not just injured. They don't just have random injuries. It's not like something that's just gonna get better. These are pretty serious injuries. Marquez has a hand fracture. We don't even know what's wrong with Oliveira. The team just said he's not coming back until probably America. Jorge Martin broke his toe in the Marquez accident. Bastianini has a broken shoulder. And Pol Espargaro has so many things wrong with him after that crash in practice. He has a fractured jaw. He has a fractured back. He has a bruised lung. And he has back and chest trauma. That's just one dude. And he didn't even crash in a race. He crashed in practice. The reason I bring up all of these injuries is that I am very worried that the new MotoGP format that has a sprint race before the Grand Prix every weekend this year is going to heighten the likelihood of rider injuries. I am very, very worried about that. And keep in mind, only one of these 5 injuries that I've just listed was because of the sprint. Bastianini is the only person that got hurt in a sprint race. The rest of them got hurt in either practice or the actual Grand Prix. But my point is, when you have a sprint race before every Grand Prix on every Grand Prix weekend, it instantly heightens the risk of rider injury. Because sprint races are shorter, which means if you're gonna make up positions, you have to make passes as quick as possible. You don't have the length of a Grand Prix to wait or save tires or bide your time. You can still do that in a sprint, but there's less time. So you're naturally gonna ride more aggressively to fight for the win, to fight for positions, to get more points. And there are 21 Grand Prix this year, and each Grand Prix has a sprint, which means that there will be a grand total of 42 different MotoGP races in one calendar year. That is literally more races than World Superbike. And World Superbike has 3 races per weekend. That is more races than NASCAR. And everyone complains that the NASCAR season is too long. I am worried, man. And I'm especially worried for Marc Marquez. I genuinely feel as though this sprint format is going to burn him the most. Because he has not completed a full season of MotoGP since 2019 when he won the championship. 2020 he broke his arm, missed the whole season. 2021 he missed the first couple of races because he still wasn't fully recovered. Yeah, he missed races in 2021 and 2. And now he's gonna miss races this year because he's fractured his hand. And when you look at all the injuries that Marc Marquez has suffered, he's been hurt every year for the past 4 seasons, despite easily being probably the best MotoGP rider this world has ever seen. Yeah, I genuinely don't know how much time this guy has left. I don't. He's 30 now. we praise Marquez as this wonder kid because he came in the sport very young and was winning championships immediately. But he's 30 years old now. He can't be 23, 24, 25 forever. He's old, and when you get older, it gets harder to recover from injuries like this. And granted, every time he's been hurt so far in his career, he's always come back and performed. But my thing is, when you put the injuries he suffered with the fact that there are more races a year, including sprints where he's gonna have to ride harder than normal, and then you add the third factor, which is that the Honda is not a good bike and he's gonna have to override it to be competitive. I genuinely think you mix all of these things in a bowl, you're gonna get the end of Marc Marquez's career. And I'm not wishing that on him. I just think that it's a very real possibility when you look at all the things that are putting this man's body at risk that are within this sport. He is in danger, bro. I genuinely worry for this guy. Cause I don't know how his body's gonna manage all of this. I'm not doubting him. I genuinely worry that the new format, the new way of life in MotoGP is going to shorten careers. It could. I'm not gonna outright blame the sprint specifically. I just think that its addition is just gonna increase the likelihood of bad crashes. By virtue of going from 21 races to 42, you have doubled the likelihood of bad crashes just by having double the races. Yeah? And now we've seen 5 riders get hurt just over the course of the weekend, not in the sprint, but over the course of the weekend, and it's over and you have 20 more to go. Like, what's gonna happen to the rest of them? What's gonna happen to the rest of the guys that aren't hurt? How many more riders are gonna be hurt? How many more? Not to mention, now we need to be looking at the safety measures that tracks have, because you look at what happened to Pol Espargaro. He wasn't racing. He lost the bike. He went into the gravel trap, and the gravel trap in no way helped cushion his fall or decrease the energy of his crash. If anything, it only made it worse. That's one of the worst crashes I've seen in a while, man. You look at that crash, you know there's no way he's not injured. And look at what I listed here. Fractured jaw, fractured back, bruised lung, back and chest trauma. We're not gonna see Pol Espargaro for a good while. He's probably gonna miss 2 races. I think he might even miss more than 2 races. I don't know when we're gonna see Pol Espargaro back, because that was one of the worst crashes I've seen in a while, man. So outside of the safety risk, outside of the fact that MotoGP needs to look at the safety features of this track, they need to look back at gravel trap placements and all of that stuff. Outside of that, when you couple that with the fact that the format is technically making life more dangerous for riders, I'm very worried as a MotoGP fan that my favorite riders are going to get hurt. Not because they're even reckless, but just because of the nature of a race weekend in the top flight now. I hope I'm making sense to somebody here. Yeah, I don't want this unscripted video to be very long. But these are my thoughts on MotoGP in Portimao. I am a worried fan, and I'll be watching the rest of this season with my fingers crossed. And I can only hope and pray that nobody else gets hurt. But with a format like this, I feel like it's almost inevitable. But that's all I have to say. This is Intern, signing out.